Hey, duckies and dice fiends! Welcome in. It is Tuesday. That means it is time for the Table Talk Show. And holy cats, y'all! Thank you so much to the Lurking Writer for the resub. 12 months, 1 year. I can't believe I stole you from Eugenio 1 year ago. Thank you so much. DC, welcome in. And thank you so much, Matt, Mimics and Misfits, for not just subscribing, but that's a level 3 hype train.
Woo-hoo.
Thank you so much for the 5 tier 1 subscriptions, both from the Lurking Writer and from Mimics and Misfits. Y'all are incredible. Thank you so much. That I did not expect that today. Thank you. However, that is not what we're here to do today. So I'm going to just say one more time, thank you so freaking much, y'all. You were so kind. You were so generous. What a way to start a Tuesday. And hi, I'm Kay. I'm one of the hosts here for the Table Talk Show. It is Tuesday. That means this is what we're doing here, where we talk all things TTRPGs from indies to intersectionality. But I'm not the only one here. Candace, who the heck is you, and what the heck is we doing here?
Hello, I'm Candace, also known as Candace the Magnificent. My pronouns are they, she, and a little sprinkle of he. And I am a TTRPG performer, voice actor, writer, and a bunch of other crap. You can find me at the Candace Marie on Twitter and Blue Sky, and at Candace Magnificent everywhere else. And I am very excited to be here with Kay and our guest.
Yeah, and we are here today with a guest that I am so excited to chat to, working on a very cool Kickstarter project. Chris, welcome. Tell us, who the heck are you, and what the heck do you do?
Hi, I'm Chris. My pronouns are they, them. She, her, if you are feeling saucy, but I am a game designer. I made a game called Defy the Gods, and I'm going to kickstart it on the 29th. It's a queer sword and sorcery adventure romance set in fantasy ancient Mesopotamia.
So, okay, Candace, more than me, but especially Candace, has played a lot of Powered by the Apocalypse.
It's true.
A lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
I am also not unfamiliar with the system, but Candace is the expert. Tell us more about, tell us the setting. And let me make sure I get this right, because it was so beautifully worded, and I do not want to mess it up. Queer themes of being outsiders, surviving in an uncaring city, and challenging the gods who hate them. Are all very sources. This game explores the ways that giving your heart can be an act of resistance.
That's
Holy
beautiful.
cats. Isn't
Yeah.
it? Isn't it?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. I have had such fun playing this game and writing it with some wonderful, wonderful people. Yeah, so it's set in something that is like ancient Mesopotamia, the same way D&D and Warhammer are Western medieval Europe, It's like with the serial numbers filed off. You make your own pantheon, you make your own city and the wilderness surrounding it. And it's a young, abundant world. It has a lot of inspirations from Conan, Clash of the Titans, Princess Mononoke. And so it is this world teeming with life, with this independent city-state in the middle of it that you live in, that really would love to shove you out to the margins or erase you completely. And it's a cosmos ruled by a pantheon of gods who hate each other but hate you more. They hate your face, they hate what you do, they want to destroy you. But with your friends and with your special talents, you push them back and face them down and carve out a space where you can live in peace. So let's see, that's my usual blurb. So yeah, it is powered by the apocalypse. It is very much this Bronze Age Mesopotamian feel, river marshes and mud brick and big blocks of stone and chariots and clay tablets. And it's this world where there was this other civilization before humans, which was the Atlanteans. So Atlantis, you can still find its ruins out in the wilderness and these lonely places, and find sorcery there because the Atlanteans invented sorcery, and that's why the gods destroyed them completely. But let's see, I'm rambling. Yes, it's powered by the apocalypse, and it's powered by the apocalypse by way of Thirsty Sword Lesbians and Apocalypse Keys. So it uses the flirtation seduction mechanics from Thirsty Sword Lesbians, and
Nice.
it borrows from Apocalypse Keys the roll too high result band and the doom spiral. So like in Apocalypse Keys, the bands are you can miss, you can get a perfect success, or you can get more than you bargained for, which just turned out to be a very sword and sorcery result to have, where things just go off the rails, get unhinged. And the more often you do that, the more likely it is that you will start becoming incredibly powerful, but less human, basically. You, your stats are epithets. You pick 3 phrases that describe how you act in the world, and those, and you assign them values of 0, 1, or 2, and so it's 2d6 plus the worth of one of your epithets. But as you get more powerful, you can get more epithets, but you also slowly start overwriting epithets with dooms. These are other phrases that are, represent the most powerful version of yourself, but not the best version of yourself. Maybe not a lot of people have played Apocalypse Keys yet. I'm not sure. I've run into some people who play. I love it, but it definitely takes that from there, where it's sort of an upward doom spiral. You become more godlike and less, and you sort of betray your heart and the hearts. So the Thirsty Sword Lesbians bit of seduction and enticement lets you give your heart to other people, or they can win it, or you can win hearts from other people despite themselves, and use those to influence them. But people who have your heart, whether they want it from you or you give it to them, they can use that to keep you human in those moments when things are going off the rails. And the game sort of has these mini arcs where it builds toward a climactic move called Defy the Gods, where you've humiliated one of the world forces, or you've maxed out your immortal pride, your fire, and then you have this move, and you either get crushed for your hubris, or you become this awful, awesome world force in your own right and stare down the gods or the city authorities or whoever it is, or the middle result, where you stay human, and with your friends, whoever stood with you in that moment, you have a little pocket of humanity, and you face off whatever world force was breathing down your neck to sort of make a new world right there, just in that moment. And then things ratchet back down, and then you build up again. Anyway, sorry, that was a very long answer. I got deep into the mechanics all
Absolutely.
up front. But yes, because you're asking about powered by the apocalypse, and so that's the kind of powered by the apocalypse.
Yes. The Lurking Writer says, everything about this setting sounds incredible / designed to intrigue me. Rex
Awesome.
Verde says, what I was thinking, powers that want to destroy you and your friends. That seems familiar. Glances at the news. And I'm
Yeah.
here for it.
And I started making this game about 4 years ago. I had no idea it would be kickstarting in this
The perfect
maelstrom
moment,
of horrors.
right?
Yeah. It's like suddenly topical. Yeah, it's wild.
Mimics and Misfits says, what's a little humanity in exchange for phenomenal cosmic power?
Honestly.
True. I mean, hey, the choice is yours. So
Yeah, your source material is absolutely fantastic. As Kay said, I've
Mhm.
done a lot of PBTA-ing in my
Awesome.
career as a TTRPG performer. I had a wonderful time the 2 times I played Apocalypse Keys. I've only gotten to do them in a one-shot. I've never actually gotten to carry through with my character. There's a lot about it that I find kind of echoes some of the concepts of Girl by Moonlight. but the
Mm.
system is so much more fluid to me and easier to
Mhm.
understand, even
Mhm.
with like the modification on the rules. So keeping in mind your inspiration, I was wondering, like, I know that this is about like queerness, which I absolutely love. Is like is the queerness like more like allegorical, the way that it is, like the way that transness is kind of allegorical in Apocalypse Keys, or is this
Mhm.
more like you are being persecuted like for the way that you are outside of like your godliness in this game?
It's more allegorical. Like it never says the gods hate you because you're gay or
Mm-hmm.
trans. It's like the gods hate you because you dabble in chaos. The gods hate you because you kill the wrong people. Um,
No one here dabbles in chaos. I don't know what you're talking about now.
yeah, right. The the gods hate you because you were raised by animals. And but the queer themes are definitely in there with the marginalization and the sort of hatred by the powers that be.
Mm-hmm.
And they're also what was I going to say? Like the different playbooks are sort of very loosely representative of
Thank you.
certain queer archetypes. Like the sword, it could be played either as a sword lesbian or as a himbo. Is really, but the kind of big-hearted, violent person who bows to no one. The sorcerer is always modifying their body. Like I say, the wolfling was raised by animals. The vessel is in this dom sub relationship with a minor god. There's the the sailor
Speaking
loves
to our
everybody,
audience.
and it has really gotten them in trouble. So they're kind of a gleeful polyamorous disaster.
Why are you describing me to our audience?
Yeah, what, there's
That
so
feels
many.
very-
There's
that feels
so
very
many
personal.
attacks here. I'm
Very
gonna, I'm
targeted.
gonna also
And-
say very quickly.
Yeah.
There was just a slew of comments in chat of Mimics and Misfits said, "I really love the mechanic because that's a very, very real thing. Sometimes our humanity lies in others keeping us." Rex said, "Oh, your friend's reeling you in. I love it." And the Lurking Writer says, "Friends is the safety net." Oh no.
No one here dabbles in chaos. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, no, not at all. Yeah, I have things. I have things about rampant power and unchecked capitalism in my campaign that I did not foresee being so relevant right now, says Rex.
Mhm,
So yeah,
mhm,
definitely,
mhm.
Suddenly
definitely
your
not
game is heavy.
Yeah. And I
dabble
wanted
in
to
chaos. I swim in it like a fish in the sea.
Awesome. I wanted the game to be chaotic, and I wanted to have these themes of like power and cursed power, and how you can become powerful, but that's maybe not always a good thing. But I also wanted to feel sexy. Like my idea of sword and sorcery is based on all these movies from the 80s where everybody's always kind of like just slathered in oil and
Fire and ice.
filming in some Spanish plane. And yeah, Fire and Ice, and Conan and Clash of the Titans and the Barbarian Brothers. I mean, some really weird ones, but like they're very and they're fun and they're goofy, but also just there's a certain physicality to it that I wanted to bring, that also felt very queer. Like, oh God, everyone's hot, and in their own ways. So anyway, so that made the flirtation mechanics from Thirsty Sword Lesbian seem really appropriate. But really, it was just more of a journal of my own self-awareness, self-discovery. Well, I have to make a game where everybody's hot because I'm just finding that right now. Anyway,
what's the you're playing queer D&D if you're having fun and everyone's hot. If no one's
Yeah.
hot and no one's having fun, you're just playing regular D&D, and stop doing that. Go play queer D&D.
Yeah,
right. Yeah, totally.
way better.
Yeah.
Have something to believe in when you go into battle and risk your life.
Yes, yeah, right, totally. Yeah.
I want to know too if you can tell us like the difference between running this as a one shot and running this as something that's more like a campaign. Like I feel like it's kind of inherently the case that you can kind of more fully explore the mechanics in a long-term game because it
Yeah.
sounds like you can grow and become more and more godlike. But like what does
Yeah.
that look like in a more short form?
Also,
Yeah.
quickly, thank you for the resub, Ilaria. Welcome in. Please
Hey.
continue.
Hey.
Sorry, everyone is so freaking generous tonight. I'm just interrupting you
That's
all the time.
awesome. That's awesome. It is so interesting. I start people out with 3 out of 5 XP on their track already checked. I start people out with 2 out of 4 fire on their fire track already checked. When they max that out, they're going to hit the Defy the Gods move. And in a one shot, instead of everybody picking a question on the character sheet to ask about their relationship to the world forces, I have a plot seed and I have a question for everybody that relates them to that plot seed. So like if there's an amulet found in an Atlantean ruin, everybody has a connection to it. And they get to say what that is, but the question obviously is loaded and suggests that something is true, and they can fill in the details of what that is. And that gets everybody on the same page right away. And it's still maybe a half hour to 45 minutes of everybody reviewing their character sheets and making relationships between each other, and then me asking them these questions about the amulet or whatever the adventure seed is, and then we're off to the races. And because everybody's already got some XP and some fire marked, they might advance, and they almost certainly will hit Defy the Gods at some point. And it's very intense. It's very focused for that, 4 hours or whatever. People get really into the characters, even though I pre-select a lot of the options from the pick list on the character sheets and on the world building sheets, like what the Pantheon is like, what the underworld is like, all these things. The people often go in and customize because they're like, oh, they have opinions, So it's a very short and very intense one shot, but it is the default mode for it is these long campaigns where people are exploring their characters, they're exploring the world. It's a really, compared to other Powered by the Apocalypse games, I think it's more sprawling because it did have all these OSR influences of just the gonzo possibilities of an unknown world that you're exploring the boundaries of. So while I do definitely, while the mechanics definitely force people toward the examining themes of marginalization and power differentials and messy romance, the scenes that they play out in doing that can be really varied. It's been cool. It started out very OSR, and it got more and more Powered by the Apocalypse, which was really the people, my editors and more experienced game designers advised me, were like, okay, you need to have an opinion about this and this and this. You get more and more opinionated. And that is actually something I love about Powered by the Apocalypse. It's like, take a stand, tell people what kind of game they're playing, and it's been really awesome and really kind of a wild experience to be like, okay, it's still a sword and sorcery game, it's still an adventure, but what the things you're literally doing mean metaphorically are very pointed. And so that's been cool. That's been fun to do.
I love that.
Yeah, what can I ask, like, why Mesopotamia?
Yeah, I was really tired of Western medieval Europe and all its analogs and allegories that were out there. I was just bored with it. And I think that's what got me thinking about, one of the many things that got me thinking about sword and sorcery, because I have always pictured Conan stories as being in this kind of Mediterranean, at least maybe Mesopotamian world, but it was always very, in Robert E. Howard's stories, very ill-defined. It was somebody said that Conan always seems like he's wandering onto the set of a different movie, and so I was exploring what that setting was. I started out Mediterranean, like Greek, because I did have Clash of the Titans on the brain, And then then basically I read Orientalism by Edward Said. That was like just put a name to the stuff that happens so much in sword and sorcery fiction, and in fiction in the West in general. This exoticizing of everything from Morocco to China that is not Western Europe. And I was like, oh God. And so that forced me to get specific. It couldn't just be something that was very loosey-goosey somewhere out there. I had to pick, okay, this is going to be ancient Sumer at the dawn of writing. And that became my touchstone, my reference point. But then I did crack that open so that players could still invent their own world. But every time there was a question of what reference point to use, what material culture to use, I always went back to that just to try to keep it specific so that I wasn't doing some, harebrained, but remarkably persistent idea of high deserts and exotic pleasures and cruelties and all that shit, all that bullshit. So that like, it just, kind of like the way PBTA made me get specific about the themes, trying to avoid Orientalism and do something fresh that was not Western Europe got me very specific about the setting. Yeah.
Love
I see
it.
Aliara and Youngle's complimenting jacket. Thank you.
Yes.
It's so good.
It is a great jacket. I was going to read that off. Rex says, Deathstalker, the Barbarian Brothers, you're going for the Boris Vallejo aesthetic. I love it. Laria says, which gods am I defying? Because some I may want to chill with. And then circled back around and said, okay, so not Loki, I'm good. Not fighting Loki, we're good.
And like, you could play the Vessel, who's in love with a minor god, and that god is not in the Pantheon. And there may be other gods and demons who are not in the Pantheon, and they don't count as these oppressive forces. But the Pantheon is like this cartel of immortals who have sort of divided the world up between them, and are like, okay, we're going to just control this shit. So yes, you can still be in love with a god. You could make your own Bronze Age Mediterranean Loki and just chill.
Yeah.
I love that.
I know she came in a little bit later, but yes, one of the playbooks you could do is like basically a warlock with your own private god.
Yes. And you channel the god's power, but you gotta wound yourself to do it. Which, you can play that however you want. It's more of a mechanical thing where the things that usually hold you back when you are kind of letting yourself be taken over by this other force, they go from being liabilities to assets.
I was about to read something, and then Gilmore appeared and chat did a thing. Okay. Lurking Writer says, speaking as someone who basically grew up in that part of the world that never really escaped the European medieval aesthetic, but with added rollways, I can emphasize I was bored of it, so give me Mesopotamia or Syria or Babylon or Sumeria, something.
Oh, Rex is asking as well.
It's awesome.
What was the book and author that you had mentioned using for your research?
Oh, Orientalism by Edward Said, Said, a Palestinian British, I believe, author from and scholar that wrote that in the mid-70s. Gilmore's lovely.
Nice.
Rex says, speaking of being taken over by a godly force, hello, Gilmore.
Hey, yeah.
I do want to ask you though, like, it's awesome that you did that like preliminary research before kind of diving in. How did that inform your process moving forward? Like, are you working with sensitivity consultants and things? Like, I saw the art. It is so beautiful and so diverse and so breathtaking. And like, it means a lot to see yourself reflected in the work that you choose to spend your money on and spend your time with. So seeing that art like immediately pulled me in and immediately just like took me. So if you could talk a little bit more about what your process is and like working with sensitivity consultants and stuff, I'd love to hear it.
I've had 3 sensitivity consultants, 3 cultural consultants, 2 of whom were sensitivity readers. And that was just a wonderful education for me One of them was a scholar of sort of ancient Near Eastern studies, and two of them were more familiar with role-playing games. And so that was really helpful and really like kind of called me on my bullshit in some ways and made me a better writer, and that was great. Because like having the theory after reading Orientalism was great, but then the actual way that I'm writing it out, that needed to change. So that was helpful. And then when I was contracting with those amazing artists, I went first with Talia Shellen, who did those character portraits, and got very specific about in what ways I wanted to express the material culture and of course the ethnicities of the characters, that everything needed to be consistent with that Fertile Crescent span of locations. Everything from the Mediterranean to Africa to the Persian mountains, and definitely that sort of Sumer area that, of course, is now Iraq. So yeah, we were all very conscious of it going in and just trying to do justice to that premise and that setting.
That's awesome. I love to hear that. Like I do some sensitivity consulting and sensitivity reading, and it's like such a bummer when someone books me after their book is done.
Right. Right.
And they're like, "This is good, right?" And I'm like, Did you go to print? And they're like, "It's cool. We can fix the PDF." And I'm like,
"Oh, yeah.
Okay. I don't really want to take your money for nothing."
Yeah, because like, where do you start?
Paid a brown person, but it's not going to help you, right?
Right.
I mean, I will take your money.
And this is what I heard early on was start early. And so the first sensitivity reader I had was a great guy named Omar Ramadan Santiago, and who was recommended to me by somebody else that I'm blanking out right now. I think James Mendez Hodis. And
so good.
It was so good, yeah. And I had heard start early, get somebody in there early, and Omar was fantastic with that and really changed the course of how I was writing it. So that was fantastic. Yeah.
So good.
Yeah.
And yes, I will say it again and shout it every time I need to. Call your sensitivity readers, get them in early, give time for feedback and revisions, because I don't care how versed you are, right? We are in an era where you cannot know everything. And even if you do know everything, everything is changing in a matter of sometimes days or hours.
Yeah.
You will mess up. Leave yourself time to correct it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. No, it is everything about at every step of this I've messed up. And it has been wonderful to feel the freedom to do that. Ideally with as small an audience as possible, but then to move on and grow and change and improve. Yeah. And not feel like I have to know everything. God, that was exhausting.
You don't know what you don't know.
Yeah.
Right?
I feel like giving yourself that grace, though, is really meaningful. There are a lot of people out there who, when confronted with a mess up, right, confronted with an error that they've made, like, it's hard not to react defensively when we mess up, right? I include myself in that because I have definitely messed up. It's really hard to like not take it personally because you don't want it to be a personal reflection of who you are. But at the same time, to process it and understand it and then be better, you can't be better without accepting that there was a mess up in the first place. So it's like this very tenuous kind of tightrope walk that I see a lot of people just absolutely wipe out on. And it makes me so sad when that happens, because I feel like, growing is part of the process. And I love hearing that you had this really amazing idea that was something that, like, one of those projects that you wanted to see and that you wanted to play, so you made it, right? And then you were able to not just make something amazing and not just make something inclusive and beautiful, but also involve other people in your process, right? That we're going to not just make your product better, but make you better. And I feel like those are the best projects, right? Where you can get out of this project, you can shut the book on it and look back and be like, yeah, Yeah. So
Yeah.
I did all the things. I made some money. I made people happy, and I'm better. Like that's.
Yeah.
I mean,
Ugh.
Hey,
invaluable.
Jason, welcome in.
Totally. Yeah. Totally.
And it's better to be like, okay, I consulted with all these people. I made the changes. Like, I went on a journey. I am better. I am smarter. I'm a better person because of all of this. Like, yes, I had to eat a little bit of humble pie, but you don't get through life without eating a little bit of humble pie.
Yeah.
And I have a product that I can be proud of,
Yeah.
not something I have to
Yes.
go, okay, so.
In 10 years, we need to hide this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Second edition, the not racist version.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah,
Yes.
like
yeah.
I feel
You're
like
not
humble
having to go,
pie
like-
is in the Rolodex. It's like always there. It's like
Yes.
it's like on the magnet on the fridge. It's like, you know, it's a go-to recipe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And if you can't handle a slice, then you really shouldn't be on the internet.
Agreed.
Yeah. Boy. Yeah. Yeah.
As Adobe learned today, if y'all didn't get on that
Yikes,
fun
what
little
happened?
train.
What happened?
Oh, Adobe joined Blue Sky. They had like a blue,
Uh-oh.
and they're like, "Hi, artists. We're excited to be here. Share us some of your favorite art."
No reason.
po-
Just curious.
The post didn't even last an hour. They had to go delete it because it was
Yeah.
the ratio was
Mm.
Yeah.
amazing, and like the
Wow.
first like 15 replies were all the here's everything you can get for free or for a one-time payment that replaces all of Adobe's software.
Oh boy. I like
It
just
was-
desserts though. Those are the tastiest
Yeah.
desserts, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Oh, it was spicy. Like as
Wow.
a person who grew up, was for a while a working artist, and it was like Adobe's the best, and now I'm like, I don't like that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Crazy times in so many ways. Yeah. But Adobe.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
a little self-aware. Don't be
Yeah.
Adobe.
Yeah.
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 Have a
Read
little
the
bit
room.
of awareness.
This game has been such a a process of growth in so many ways. Like say it's been both the cause and effect of my queer journey, which has just been amazing. Where I'm like, I need to write certain things into this game to reflect my queerness, and then it's like certain things that I write in the game make me think, oh God, I have to be more queer. Or I am more queer. Like the last playbook I wrote was The Revenant. They're escaped from the underworld. They were alive before. They're not that person anymore. They were dead in the underworld. They're not that person anymore. They're exploring who they are now and have the power of endless possibility. And I'm writing it. I'm going, oh my God, I'm trans. Like, like, oh, I wrote a baby trans character, and they still have all these connections to their old life that they want to, that people are sort of dragging them back to, and like there are demons literally hunting them to drag them back to the underworld, but they're going to be this new person. And it's like, it was the first playbook that I wrote. I mean, I had bits of myself in all the playbooks, but when I wrote that, I was like, oh God, it's me. It really hit home.
I've
You're just like-
definitely go Candace. I was gonna say I've definitely had a few moments of crisis where I'm like playing a game and I'm suddenly like, la la la, I'm playing this character. Oh no, this isn't the character. Did anyone notice? Did anyone notice that I just showed my whole ass?
Yeah, right. I'm in this picture and I don't like it. Yeah.
Yeah, very that. I've had several of those too, where you're like, I am building a completely unique thing. I'm not writing about myself. It's this whole other thing. I've written about myself tons of times before, and this is nothing like that. This is, oh, that's a new thing. Well.
Yeah. We had a moment in our, I can talk about this because it happened. It's in one of the aired episodes, but in the Starfinder game Emergency Power Podcast season 3, like my character was helping this traumatized teen NPC through thing and said something, and I broke our GM and we had to take a 5-minute recess while they processed that, and I'm like,
Oh no!
I'm so sorry. And they're like, no, this is really good for me. I just need a minute.
Hero point. I'll be right back.
Yeah, it just got really real.
I gotta
hang on.
take 5.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
you listen to the episode, you can't tell. Like they edited it beautifully, but I was like, I'm so sorry.
Oh, oh, oh. But I love games like that. You know,
Same.
I think that's what. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, like finding yourself through a game. I find that
Mm.
that's something that I really love about gameplay. Recently, there's been some talk in the TTRPG space about the validity of like activism through gaming, rather than like activism that takes on other forms, and how valid that is, right? Like how effective that can be. And to me, like while I don't think that it's like that's a replacement for boots on the ground activism, right? You need all of it. I do think that like art is resistance. So when it comes to telling these stories, if you're putting your art into it, right, and you're putting yourself into it, that in and of itself is an act of resistance. It is nothing better for me than when someone comes up to me at like a convention or something or online and tells me that a character that I played made them think differently or made them realize something about themselves or made them feel comforted, right? And I can't imagine what that must be like as a game designer, right?
Yeah.
To kind of put your whole self out there. Because like I'm putting a fraction of myself and then my skills as a performer, right? That's definitely a very personal experience. But the written word, right? Like I also write, the written word is like people taking you at face value. Like I can kind of control as a performer how people interpret my art because I am the conduit. Whereas people are reading your work and then taking something from it on their own time away from your eyes. And that's like such a different energy to occupy, I feel like.
Yeah. Yeah. I part of what led me to make this Powered by the Apocalypse is, like I say, it started in a real OSR vein, but I really love the way Powered by the Apocalypse games will steer you toward these really meaningful emotional moments. And in a way that works for everybody, but things that I at least never would have tripped over just accidentally in an OSR or trad game, where there's so much more kind of materialistic things to distract you, you know, the leveling up, the monsters, whatever, the loot, whereas these PBTA games are all about the story and meaty, juicy story moments. And I was like, well, if I can do that in a sword and sorcery game, that would be really great. And because it's those kind of games where I feel like I've grown and the other people at the table have gone, oh, you know, where it's really gotten real. Yeah. So
Rex, backing up a tiny bit, Rex says the idea that demons pull you away and strip away your false life, so when you return, you are in your true form. ...
Awesome. Yes.
Yeah. And we've talked several times about like the gateway to finding your new pronouns. There's 2 of them, and it's Stardew Valley and TTRPGs. Those are the 2. I know there's others, but those are the big 2.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's correct. That's my experience. I'm a big fan of art that makes you question like that, though. I have a friend who is, this is not a humble brag. It's going to sound like a humble brag. I apologize in advance. I have a friend who is a fantastic comic book illustrator and author. Her name is Sophie Campbell. She's a trans comic book creator, and she went from kind of publishing, like self-publishing and doing like little Oni Press type indie books to, I think she's working on Justice League, Young Justice right now, or some crazy nonsense. Yeah, she just finished a historic run on Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which like the first time I ever saw her work, it was actually fan art that she was doing of TMNT. So while Sophie and I have been acquainted, she realized that she's a woman, right? She realized that she's always been a woman, which was funny because when I met her, it was like back in the live journal times, and I like found her live journal and followed everything she did because she used to draw characters that looked a lot like me. And so my friends, people used to come up to me and be like, have you heard of the book Wet Moon? And I'd be like, yes, 8,000 people have referred it to me. Thank you very much. I recognize it's for me. And somebody literally put me on a page, and I know. And so I really thought, because of the way that she had written those characters, that she was a woman. So when I met her, I was like, oh, I thought that you were going to be a woman. And she was like, oh, it's funny to hear you say that. I've had that like dream a couple times, like something. It's stupid. It's silly. It's nothing. I was like, sure. So like over the course of our friendship, like knowing that I was absolutely not just a lady, and hadn't really been just a lady for some time, I think I was very much like, just kind of like, where's this gonna go? And then I remember the day that she called me to be like, hi, so I'm Sophie. I'm still the person you know, but I'm Sophie. I was like, no, I know. For me, you've been Sophie this whole time. I respect your truth, and I'm not here to tell you who you are or what you're doing. But the first time I ever looked at your art and I saw the way that you drew the concept of like how femmes look at themselves in the mirror and the way that we understand our bodies, like you were already yourself to me personally. Before I ever met you, I saw who you were. And like knowing that she found that through her art and through like interviews, I think was a big part of it too, because people were very critical of like the male gaze, right, in her sexy characters. But her characters weren't like exploitatively sexy, right? They were just curvy, right? There were a lot of characters who were thick and full-bodied, lots of cleavage, lots of booty, lots of thighs, right? Not for the sake of, titillation, but because those are the bodies, those are real bodies, right? And I personally felt very
because
seen
ladies have
by
titties.
that. That's it, right? Like I felt very seen by that, especially because like that was the first time that I saw somebody who was gender fluid but curvy, right? Outside of myself. Like I remember going to queer bars and like going to drag king nights and being like, hi, I'd like to join you. And they'd look at me and be like, honey, what are you talking about? And I'm like, I understand. I get it. I have makeup on. I know. Makeup for me is androgynous. It's not, it's paint, right? It's an accessory. Right. It has nothing to do with how I'm feeling gender wise. And they just couldn't, they couldn't get it, right? These days it's easier to talk to people about gender.
Absolutely.
And being kind of in the middle, right? Occupying that middle ground. But like for a long time, it just was so, like you really had to over-explain in order for people to take you seriously.
Rex
totally.
says Candace is too powerful, just appearing as a character through the muse of an artist. And not just an artist. Fucking incredible artist.
Yeah, her stuff's
great.
Great.
She looks incredible. She looks amazing. I was just looking at that. I'm really happy with the artists that we got in Defy the Gods, who also are drawing femme people in that way, where it's the Mediterranean or Mesopotamia. It's like hot out, people aren't wearing much, but it's not for somebody's gaze. It's just like people walking around topless or whatever, just for their own sake, in a way where it's just, I don't know, there's breast in this book, and it's just people going about their lives, it's not meant to, I don't know how you can tell, but you can tell, right? When you see art that's like, oh God, and when you see art that's like, huh. So I really hope and think that we're in the latter category. Yeah.
I used to do moderation, and that meant we did a lot of studying on, what defines and does not define pornography. Like, where is that line?
Oh, yeah.
And, did a lot of deep dives, a lot of it. But the quote that, like, it wasn't good the way it was in that situation, but it's accurate, right? Is the judge who was making the call, or what is it? It's like,
I know it when I see it.
don't know it, but I know it when I see it. Right?
Yeah.
We know.
Yeah.
Lurking Writer says, what led you to decide on Kickstarter to Defy the Gods as opposed to other platforms or methods?
That's a really good question. It was a hard choice. This is a much more ambitious Kickstarter or crowdfunding campaign than my last one. And at the time that I made the decision, I felt like it still had the most reach, especially for tabletop role-playing games. Not sure that I'll pick them next time, but which could be like a year from now. But of course, things are changing so fast.
Yeah. Who knows 3 months from now, much less a year from now.
GameFound seems like a pretty good emerging alternative. I'm less impressed with BackerKit, because these are crowdfunding platforms, but they're also marketing platforms, and you want one that has a strong following within our community, within our hobby. So Kickstarter seems maybe like a little bit better than GameFound right now, and that could easily change. And I say better in terms of reach, not in terms of them as a company, because who knows? I'm not here to defend any company.
No, we don't defend companies this day and age.
Yeah, right. What does that get us in the end?
We know better.
Yeah, everybody's getting milkshake duck.
Yeah. We hate that fact.
Yeah. Anyway, so seem to have the best reach. That's all.
Yeah, it's definitely, you say, I'm doing a Kickstarter. Everyone's like, cool, no questions. You're like, I'm doing a thing on GameFound. Waiting for the explanation, right?
Yeah, right. No, it's such a wild, fluid landscape these days. Really,
absolutely wild.
Which is exciting too. Yeah.
So it's a really cool combination. Did you have a thing, Candace?
I have a question that's going to deviate away from Defy the Gods for a moment. So you ask your thing, and then I'll circle back.
Write down your question so we don't forget.
I've got it.
Because none of us.
I've been waiting this whole time.
Excellent.
So Candace has played way more Powered by the Apocalypse games than I have. But we didn't get a good rundown on exactly what this game was, and that was part of the problem, is we did not know what we were getting into, and we brought the wrong characters and mindset for what we were getting into. But we were invited to play a game of Urban Shadows, which that also has the Doom Spiral corruption mechanic. But we were not warned. And our GM was like, I can't wait for you all to start spiraling, and was pushing for us to do this without. So, that's always, we both, and again, I don't think it's a bad system. It's just, we were not prepared.
Yeah.
And it was, right. I spent I couldn't stop chewing on it. I spent 2 months just going why didn't I like this? What upset me about it? And then peeling it apart and then going, okay, I can fix it. And I went, if I fix it, and fix for me, not the system needs to be fixed. I'm for me, I would have to, I'd have to just undo the whole thing. Right. I can't hack this system to make it what I like. But actually, I love the idea that the Thirster lesbian strings, these connections, are what can keep you from going completely down that spiral.
Yes.
Because as we were both we have no incentive to do anything cool because our interesting characters are going to spiral and go bad. And we can't stop or slow or do anything about that.
And I feel like there was also no empowerment to give yourself permission to go bad. Sometimes if going bad is the point, let me know. Yeah. I'll go fucking crazy. But there really wasn't an invitation to do that. So it was just I
have so many thoughts on this. Urban Shadows is definitely an R-rated game, and Defy the Gods is PG-13 to R, depending on how you play it.
As all TTRPGs.
Right. But you need that buy-in with all the players. I mean, I'm picturing your GM being I can't wait for you all to spiral, and you're like, what spiral? And so something Apocalypse Keys did that I'm borrowing and adding a couple things to is the palette, where at the very beginning you're here's what we don't want to talk about or play introducing the game. Here's what we want to be careful with, and here's what we really want to get into. And tangentially, Jay Dragon has a really interesting post recently about a more cartoony grid of stuff we don't want to talk about or do versus stuff that is easy or difficult. So there could be difficult things that you really want to talk about, really want to play, introducing to play. And so that's a really interesting system. A little crunchy as calibration, safety mechanics go. But anyway, the anyway, that thing of setting up your palette at the beginning is essential, and then there's mechanics for reviewing the palette between adventures, and getting experience points if anybody moves something on the palette. So there's an incentive to do that. And right at the beginning, I'm like, okay, by default on the red palette that we're not going to get into in this game are slavery and sexual assault, because it is such a fucking go-to in so much sword and sorcery. Like
don't need it. Get more creative. Get better ideas.
Right, exactly.
Better
so
ideas.
Like I just put those in the will not play right from the beginning, so people can start thinking about other things. I mean, if you really, really want to get into it, okay. And if everybody's okay with it, move it into one of the other lists, but please don't. Just really don't.
GM is a player too. GM gets to say, no, I don't want to play this.
Yeah. Well, and the writer in this case has that little, I mean, obviously I have no control over how people play a game. Nobody does. But I do my best by saying, by default, these are on the red list.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because it's like in every Conan adaptation, they get into these things, and it's like, oh, okay, so you need the galley slaves to revolt. I guess fine. And I'm just like flipping till I can get to the end of that scene. So anyway, yes, what were we talking about?
I'm itching to do, and we have to wait for the right time, but I'm itching to do we talked about it before, but another deep dive episode on Session Zero, because like Session Zeros are very important, but only if you do the right things. Right? If you don't talk about certain things, then Candace knows I'm very big on when I run APs, I GM, and it's like, I want everyone to know what the pillars and the themes are, because that way we're all going to be rowing the boat the same direction.
Yeah.
I showed up to a game, and the end of the first session, there was a giant plot twist that none of us had built characters to go along with that plot twist. And we're all like, oh no.
Oh boy.
And
Wow.
it's like, I understood that there wanted to be a cool surprise to plot twist, right? But it's also like, we needed at least a little bit of a heads up. It would have made everyone's lives easier. So yes, it's very cool that you took the time to do all that discussion, because it's so important to be like, again, I am ace as fuck. I am ace, A-row, none of it. But like, you tell me, okay, we're doing a thirsty sword lesbians game. Okay, so who am I playing with?
How homosexual can I be?
Right. How homosexual, and like, who am I playing with that I know that I like know will be safe? Because like, here's more than like, I'm happy to show up and play a queer or even a straight, like what if the characters click, but the like, I don't know this person and out of character might develop a stalker, right? Like, it's really important to have those understandings. Not that that's happened before.
Bleed is so wild and so treacherous sometimes, and the games that really play with it well are amazing, like Bite Marks. But you need a good group, and I would love to read more games that really are good at helping you manage the group and work with if there's anybody who's not quite getting it, or where the bleed is making things messy because like they take your role play the wrong way. I need to read more games that work with that. And I think like Die, for instance, is all about that. Because it's a really interesting boundary, this permeable boundary between us and our game and reality. So
I had a very good friend in a very long-running game who messaged me and went, I have to kill my character. My character has to die. I'm getting too much character bleed, and I can't. It's ruining my life, actually, and I want to keep playing this game. I just can't do it with this character. I'm so sorry. I'm like, no, it's a game to have fun. If we're not all having fun,
I've had someone
what are we
leave the table
doing
for that same reason. We were playing
The
a
fact that you,
Strahd game and things got so bleak that they were just like, things in my real life are bleak and I'm having a very hard time. And this game is bleak, so I can't ask you to change it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't have a sunny Strahd, so I'm
Yeah.
gonna go. And all of us were like, you need to take care of yourself. We love you, and we will check
yeah.
in.
I love that you can kill your character, frankly, you know? Whether that means you're rolling up a new one and staying in the group or you're just piecing out and taking some time for yourself, I think is fantastic.
Yeah.
Like, like, it's nice to get to the end of a novel and be done with it. And it's nice to get to the end of a game and be like, that was a satisfying conclusion for my character. There will be no comeback sequel for them. This is it. And the fact that you can kind of, whatever the bleed that was happening there, kind of bury that with the character is actually kind of great. Or like some, God forbid the game was bringing out some part of you just really didn't like. You're like, I'm gonna just end this storyline. And I'm gonna go on with my life.
And this is going to slightly circle back to a topic we had earlier. The discussion was great, and I want to, but like, this is such, roleplay and games are a great method of self-discovery and also of like practice, right? And so, like, yes, you discover things. Like, again, we talk about you find your pronouns playing TTRPGs, right? You, you can find out. I had a realization of like, I played this character. And they take all of, something bad happens and they take this to this degree. And what a hilarious, they take it to 11. I take it to 10. Oh, hey, I know this about myself. I could be aware. But as we were talking about earlier, like the games of resistance, and I do understand some people are like, well, they're pretending, they're imagining that they're doing resistance in their games as opposed to actually going out and do it. Also go out and do it. But it's also a great way to practice. Because practicing empathy, practicing resistance, practicing what do you say when someone is unkind to your face? How do you stand up to that? That is something. Now, look, some people do have it innately. Some people have it innately to a bad degree. Like practicing, how do I say, getting to know this feeling? How do I reply to it? How do people react to that reply, right? Where is too far? Because look, I'm not going to say, look, punching Nazis is always moral, but a Nazi might punch back. So are you the person who's going to punch the Nazi? Are you the person who's going to stand your ground but not throw a fit? Like, you need to practice and find all of this out. And it's a really great way to do that. And again, as an ace Aero, right, it's hilarious for me playing romance games because I'm like, I may as well be fighting a dragon right now. All of this is weird and unreal.
Awesome.
But it also, as Candace says, I'm not great with other people's relationships going well, going poor, like all of it. I'm like, like someone comes to me and like, I'm having trouble with my partner. You should break up. Right? That's just,
you have better things to do.
That's just, well, if you're not happy, like statistically relationships fall apart at a point at the 65% mark. If you are less than 65% happy with your relationship, probably going to end it. It's just statistically how it's going to be. If you're coming to me and you know it's me, then you probably should end it. And I'm getting better. I'm not perfect, but I'm getting better because of TTRPGs.
I love the low stakes experimentation that we can do in TTRPGs with new personas and new takes on things. Like new ways of approaching conflict or trouble of any kind. It's low stakes. It's this invitation into the magic circle, and you just try on different faces, bodies, and philosophies. I just love that. I'm so in love with TTRPGs for that. I remember hearing a podcast interview with Avery Alder years ago about Monster Hearts, and just the playful way that she talked about the scenarios in there and the ways that they represented things that happen in adolescence to queer people, trans people specifically. It was just, even hearing that podcast was such this low stakes invitation to play. And there's like low judgment, no judgment. And Anyway, it's great.
Yeah, absolutely. Candace, did you play? I know Emily got it. Did you ever play Women Are Werewolves?
So I have a copy, but I've never had anyone to play with because it's such an in-person kind of game.
Yeah.
I've been trying to kind of like wangle it to do like an online deal if I can, where I just hold up the cards. Like maybe I can just talk to people. I don't know, but it's beautifully designed. Like I love the look of it. I love the card game aspect of it rather than like a character sheet. Yeah, I'm very intrigued by it for sure. It was sent to me during the Ennies when I was a judge.
Oh, great.
They sent it to me.
Awesome. Yeah, I have it too and need to play it when you find people to play it with.
Mm-hmm.
It looks awesome and intense.
That's the thing that I think really excites me about your game, which like this isn't to say anything negative about Women Are Werewolves because awesome. But like not all games are for all players, right? And not all games are for all players at all times and all settings. Right? So to like deepen what you and Kay were talking about earlier about like walking into a situation at a TTRPG within a TTRPG where you might be uncomfortable or challenged personally, right, by the content of it. Finding the right people to play a game with is more important than I think people really consider. Yeah. And I think that's because like games like Dungeons and Dragons or like even my fave Savage Worlds, right? Like you don't have to really worry about the mechanics directing you to do something that might make you or someone else at the table uncomfortable, right? Like there's a game that I'm sort of running right now that I'm gonna have to like redo, but it's a cowboy game, right? A horror cowboy game that Kay is also in. And everybody has to be bad guys, right? It's a game where these bad guys get caught up overnight on the run after a heist, and like what happens to them, right? How do you make it through the night, basically, with all this stolen good on you? And when I put together that table, I very specifically made the decision to put people together that I knew were all going to be anxious little beans, so to speak, about harming people. Because I knew that they were twisted enough to take the key once the key was given by each other member of the table and just be awful and just unlock every door and stab people in the face. But I also knew that they were going to use the lines and veils and use their safety tools and feel bad, check in of, oh, hey, I just said that like I was going to fuck your mom. Are you all right? You know, that was not me speaking. I would never do that to you unless she wanted me to. And it was, and you were also okay.
It started like we were all like the chat was just like, "Are you okay?" And then by the end, like we finished this first little bit, and I won't say who it was, but my character's being shitty, and we finished it. And I was like, "We're doing the next session because I got shit to say to you, motherfucker."
I have retorts, rebuttals, right? So like, unless it's that kind of situation, for the most part, in the average TTRPG, you're not kind of getting challenged like that, right? Unless it's something that you've personally put into your character that someone is engaging with, right? But in games like
or someone is forcing onto your character.
Correct.
Oh, that's the worst.
Correct, which is awful. In Women Are Werewolves, right? The topicality is sensitive. Like you're going in with your heart kind of on a little platter, and everybody else puts their heart on the platter, and then you're all sitting there looking at your hearts like, no one's gonna stab this now, right? We're all gonna behave. Like, I'm not trusting anybody, right? I would trust Kay to play that game with me. But like a charity one shot where I have no control over who's at my table. No, absolutely not. Nope. Absolutely not. Yeah. And what I think I love about like what I'm hearing about Defy the Gods is it feels like a nice marriage of the two. You can make it as personal as you want or as impersonal as you want. So you can kind of like thread your needle however you most see fit. Like I can imagine this getting very, and I feel like that's something that Monster Hearts does really well too. Like speaking of that game, right? It's very easy in that game to take as much as you want or as little as you want, as far as like the sex and the flirtation, right? Thirsty Sword Lesbians, another one, right? Great tradition of this kind of in between of being able to express that part of yourself if you feel comfortable, and then kind of dial it back if you don't. And I think more games that set out to be specific, like obviously there is room for Women Are Werewolves, there's room for orc fucker, right? Or orc fuck. There's room for like, the between. There's room for a bunch of games where like you are destined to get real kinky. That's wonderful. I love that. I'm a huge proponent. I do not kink shame. I kink celebrate, even if I don't kink understand.
I might kink question, but I will never kink shame.
Exactly. I will kink research. I will not kink shame. But I love that there's this nice like middle ground tradition of TTRPGs because you don't really have to choose. Like even in Thirsty Sword Lesbians, when Kay, with the time that Kay and I played TSL together, and Kay brought their edgelord, right, their edge monarch, and I was like a spoiled princess that was living in her sister's shadow kind of person. We decided to have a romance, and someone in chat, Youngles, Jen was also there at that table, and like very comfortable with Jen. But it was our first time playing with Connie Chong from Transplanar, right? And Connie has like his own very specific ways that he likes to run that game, right? They have a lot of like rules and standards and anti-colonialist thought processes that go into that game. So it's designing your character around that and making sure that that is complete. And then also we had Naomi Kyle, right? Who is a personality, like a G4 host and stuff, right? Like a person who had lots of people know. So like there are two people at the table that not only did I not know, but also I was like, where are you at? Like, are you matching my freak or right? Like, Jen and Kay can match my freak, but you guys don't know me. So how ridiculous should I get? And it was really nice to be able to play through like 70% of the game, not really worrying about that, and then be able to have like a fucking on the spot scene with Kay that was like yummy and tasty and all those nummy num bits, and then immediately go back to balls up.
Connie was great because it was like everyone kind of had a thing pairing up, and then there was the one odd person out, and Connie's like, "I got you." Like it was beautifully done.
I
also
go ahead.
Just real quick, Lurking Writer said, going back a little bit, play happens in childhood as an almost instinctual way of making sense of the world and ourselves. So role-playing games in adulthood seem like a natural extension of that. After all, to quote one of my doctors, what's the point of being grown up if you can't be childish sometimes?
Yes. Totally. That's it. I was just going to say about what we were just talking about, that I got great advice from Lila Fujiwara, who was developmental editor for most of this process, who just came out with a great game called Jukebox, karaoke role-playing game, amazing. But Lila said, write these intimacy moves like they could be something meaningful, a meaningful moment between friends, or totally sexy. But don't write them so that they have to be sexy. And that was really helpful. Like every playbook has their own special heart move, which is a healing your wounds move and heals the wounds of anybody who engages in that move with you. And it's different for each playbook. Like for the sword, it's carousing, and for the for the sailor, it's more like spinning a lie and letting and other people believing it, or like not calling you on it even though they know you're lying. And they started out really sexy, and Lila was like, add some ambiguity here so people can interpret it how they want, because like you said, every table is going to be different. Boy, that's really been true.
Yeah, like when you were saying, it's you give someone your heart, you either take it or you get it, but like that's what keeps you grounded. I'm like, I love that because I'm ace, but my relationships are still really, really strong. David has my heart and I have his, and we're never gonna bone. But that doesn't mean that what we have isn't something really special and important.
Boning, not the point.
I can tell you I have not functioned correctly these past 6 months without him, so...
Yeah. They still keep us human. They still keep us true to ourselves. Yeah. And the solidarity that we feel by sharing our hearts with each other help us resist the horrors, help us resist the assholes, and keep them from grinding us down.
That's something that I've been thinking about a lot. recently
Mm.
is how like leaning on your loved ones, leaning on your found family, leaning on your community in times when things are really hard and overwhelming is like so much more favorable than just like crashing out on your own, right? Than just kind of like leaving behind everything that you know to be true because it's scary. There's a lot of fear in the world, right? There's a lot of very justified fear from the people who are being persecuted, and then there is fake fear from the persecutors, right? From the people who are doing the harm. And it's bizarre to me that the fear of the people doing the harm is louder and more intense and more visceral than the fear of the people who are being persecuted. But when you think about it, the reason that exists is because of community, is because of found family, is because of our attention to non-traditional relationships, and our investment in relationships of all kind, right? No matter who we are, no matter what walk of life you're from. And I think that like at its worst, the internet is a cesspool, but at its best, it's a great uniter and a place where you can find people that are like yourself. Like being able to spend time with people online and play TTRPGs online for me. I grew up in a school district that was 1% a racially ambiguous minority. So everyone who wasn't white was 1% of the school, of the entire district.
Oh my
there were,
God.
like 20 black children in my school, including myself.
Oh my God.
And out of like 3,000 kids. So like it was really
if it
hard
helps,
to.
we had 2 in my whole school.
This is what I'm saying. Like it's really hard to grow up knowing that you're not entirely a freak, you're not entirely a weirdo.
Yeah.
People must like the stuff you like, or it wouldn't keep getting made. But where are those people, right? Where are my people? I was told college. College is the time you're gonna find your people. I got to college and I found like a slice of people, and then it fizzled because everybody moved home, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, it's by nature a transient community, and I made more lasting friendships after college than you know, even though college was this intense time and really emotionally meaningful, like people move on, people move in different directions.
Yeah.
And sometimes you torch your relationships to the ground, and didn't mean to do that.
Sometimes they need to be torched. Sometimes
they need to be torched.
Sometimes they no longer serve you. I feel like, you know, when those things happen to us, it can be really hard to like feel that abandonment. But I feel like now the difference for me between 2016 and 2025, despite a similar threat being introduced into our ecosystem as Americans, and as the world, really, because it's not like it's just an American problem now.
No, it's not contained anymore. There is no containment.
I feel like the big difference for me personally is that sense of community and is that ability to like lean on people. Being afraid as a marginalized person, especially as a multiply marginalized person, is a very acute kind of terror. Because you don't know which direction it's coming from. You don't know why someone's going to be terrible to you, right? Are they going to sniff me out? Are they going to know that I'm not like them? In which way am I not like them that they're going to sniff me out in, right? What's going to be offensive today? So I think that like having that ability to not even retreat, but to revel in TTRPGs that like uplift and kind of center that marginalization and that story of triumph where it's like built in and kind of baked into the narrative. It's just really beautiful, especially one that has a narrative like yours that so distinctly drives romance and a sense of community and like kinship. Really excited about it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. That I'm so excited to get out in the world. But I totally feel that about I'm with it's weird with me, it's you know, mainly sexuality and gender, but it's like, who will care about this today? You know, like, some people may be like, oh, you're awesome. Some people may not give a shit. And then some people, it may be like they see red. And it's weird. It's very strange, but community is awesome. And that sense of, like you say, that play space in role-playing games really helps. And offers
just
that community.
knowing and not just knowing, but feeling that you're not alone. You're not the only one who feels this way. You're not the only one. And you can overcome these. I have gone into sessions where I'm like, it's been a really, like, you see the world. Can we have a problem tonight that I can just solve by punching?
please.
Can I just
Yes,
punch a problem
totally.
tonight?
Yes.
That's or kiss a
Yes.
problem away. Just give me a simple solution because I can't fix that, and I
Yes.
need to fix something.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. I um I got a lot of satisfaction out of writing a game where the gods might actually sometimes come down to earth so that you can punch them. You know, where yeah, the gods hate you, but they are physical beings and they live on mountaintops, and sometimes they come down here and you can hurt them. You know, well, I don't care about hurting them, but like you can make them back off. I guess it's like with any fantasy game, you know, take the problems that I'm facing and put them in a wrapper that makes them more approachable, more dealable with, confrontable, because it's sphinxes and sorcery. It's not whatever. It's not politics and economics. So that like, okay, I can deal with this. I can deal with sphinxes and sorcery. I can deal with city states and temples of cults. You know, like I just can't deal with Republicans. And then hopefully I get recharged and can go out and deal with it. Yeah.
I just want to read that Lurking Writer
Yeah.
doesn't remember where he heard this quote from, but this is so beautiful. Found family, like we just discovered each other under a stone or something. Screw that. Family is forged in fire and steel.
Love.
Forged family is beautiful.
Forged family.
is beautiful.
Yeah.
Aw. So I have an off-the-topic question that is on the topic.
Right on.
And I feel like I would be remiss without asking you to talk about this because of who the regular co-host of this show is here across from me. Let's have I know we're getting toward the end of our time and we are here to talk about Defy the Gods. However, if we can just talk about Raccoon Sky Pirates.
Yes.
Just for a minute. Because
Yes.
we've got some raccoon love in the chat and on screen. We actually were almost about to play Raccoon Sky Pirates and probably be in this year's Pride event. The only reason it wasn't in last year's is because the author of Super Dylan authored Guys and Chairs, and it was between those two.
Super Dylan is amazing. I will never be sore about losing out to Dylan.
They ended up being like because originally I was like, what should we run? And it was between those two, and Dylan was like, the thing I had just got canceled, and I was like, I want to watch you play your game. But this year, I'm looking at Raccoon Sky Pirates like, hello.
For anybody who doesn't know, let's see if I can bring this into focus. No, okay.
So good.
So
Oh, your blur, it's mad.
There it is.
Yeah.
I will have to. I may have played a Raccoon Artificer.
Yes. Fantastic.
It's Brissa. It's the inventor for Raccoon Sky Pirates. Yeah. Right. What did you want to ask about Raccoon Sky Pirates?
I just want everybody to know that this game exists. I would like for you to tell everybody what the basis of it is, because I know already people are like rubbing their little raccoon paws together in the chat. I see it.
It's a GM-less story game with some board game elements that keeps things on track, where you all play raccoons. You live in the junkyard. You build a flying ship out of trash, fly it across town to a suburban house, get in, steal everything you can before the lights come on, and try to make it back home without your ship exploding. But things keep going wrong because you're raccoons. And you roll to see what you do. You don't know what you're going to do before you do it because you're a raccoon. So every raccoon has a different list of 12 things they might do, and 12 is always make things worse. Yeah, there's 4 scenes to the game. It's tightly structured, and the sorry, just looking at this thing. And yet, things just go so far off the rails. It's amazing. So I'm really gratified by all the fun people have had with it. It's done really well for an indie game. And after Defy the Gods, I want to make a deluxe version of Raccoon Sky Pirates because I've all but sold out of the copies that I have. So I want to make a bigger, like all in the box thing where you build your ship by putting puzzle pieces together.
Oh my god!
And that simplifies the use of the cards a little bit more. I want to have this like disaster track, like a pressure meter, where you know, things get closer and closer to disaster, and maybe you can bring it back a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, so I've got a lot of great ideas for that. It's something that is on the box where like you have play mats and things like that. The improvisation that people bring to it when they're like, okay, I know this went wrong, and this is what I thought I was going to do. This is what I actually did, and these are the other complications that are already in the scene. So now with all those prompts, I'm going to narrate what happened. And within that structure, you have a lot of room to say what happens, and things just take wild turns. You know, people, abducted the dog, adopted a baby. There's a lot.
Thank you for dropping the link, Rex. Lurking Rider says, Sky Pirates, Raccoon or otherwise, is an automatic tell me more. Mooks and Misfits says, you can't see my hands. You don't know they're making T-Rex grabby hands. Rex says, wonderfully chaotic. And Lurking Rider says, give please.
Oh, lovely. Thank you all.
I knew it. You couldn't leave here today without telling everybody about Raccoon Sky Pirates because, we know our audience here.
I have like 6 copies left. So hit me up or I'll go to my website, hecticelectron.com, get one of the last few copies. Anyway, there's a zine, there's play sheets, there's a deck of cards, and there's a custom 12-sided die with a raccoon face for the 12 for $25. Anyway, sorry, that's my con spiel. And
perfect.
First of all, there's also, guys, there's an enamel pin and the die. You're not going to be able to say no to it. It's really effing cute.
There is a panicking raccoon pin.
It is both are so cute. Like,
Oh, thank you.
It might have to live beside my donut county. I have the little donut county pin that's got the trash can with the raccoon with the crown. Yeah.
Perfect.
I love Donut County. So of course I love the Donut County. Yeah.
I know I don't sound it, but I am from Texas, and like raccoons were, basically house cats.
I'm working on a Toronto expansion. I actually just play tested it at Breakout Con because they rule that town. The most difficult part is just one-upping what's actually happening in Toronto. Yeah. Oh God, Raccoon Sky Pirates, love it.
So excited.
And I want to say that the sorcery system for the sorcerer playbook in the game in Defy the Gods is not that different from what happens with raccoons, with Raccoon Sky Pirates, because you don't know what spell you're going to cast before you do it. You just roll a bunch of dice and you look for patterns in the dice, and whatever patterns you can match, that's a spell you can cast. And you pick one of them, that you have checked and that matches a pattern on the dice.
That's sick as heck.
Yes.
Oh, I love that. One of the things that I have a hard time with in Dungeons and Dragons is like decision paralysis.
So many decisions.
So many options. And then like if you roll low initiative, then you got to wait for everybody else to do the shit that they want to do. And by the time they do, the thing that you set up perfectly might not even be a thing anymore. Yeah. Like it makes me so like, and like I really like the wild magic table, but also again, far too many options where I'm just like, it feels like you're juggling like 16 like bowling pins, right? But I love the idea of you look for patterns in the dice because that feels like your own kind of alchemical, like magical like, thing you're doing on your end as the player.
And realistically, you'll have between 0 and 3 choices. It's usually just one.
DC says, look at all these raccoon and sky pirate related PDFs I now have. Lurking Rider, I mean, if you order a thing, it could come to me and it could go in a suitcase for when I go. I'm going to get to meet Lurking Rider next month because I'm going to the UK. Cool. So, depending on how eager you are, there's room in a suitcase.
Less than a month out.
You can always stuff a raccoon into a suitcase. That's exciting.
Always. Yeah, I'm very excited. This is the nerdiest thing I've ever said. I'm going to the UK for 2 weeks, specifically to play TTRPGs. With this group I've been playing with for 2 years, but have never met because they're all in England.
Amazing.
Can I interject? That is no nerdier than paying $5,000 and upwards to go to England to play TTRPGs all weekend with a group of strangers you've never met inside of a castle.
That is true.
No nerdier than that, friend.
That is true.
Have you done that?
I have not, but I've been looking at D&D in a castle. Like, do you need people who don't know how to run D&D? I don't. I'll learn or whatever. But also, can I run indie games in your castle? I'll be so good. Please hire me to run indie games in your castle.
How cool would Godplane be?
This is what I'm saying, and I don't
would
have
love
to use
to run
Dungeons and
Godplane
Dragons.
in
I can
D&D
run
in a castle.
something else, but run Godplane. Yeah.
But yes.
That's me, personally.
There's like a LARP with in a Polish castle that's like all about students at a magic school. Yeah, like very Harry Potter with the serial numbers filed off. And then the states, there's some group that has done their own version of the states with Sans Castle, I think.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
But yes, I want to make sure we are nearing the end of our time. We are actually at the end of our time, but we are not quite done yet. So, Chris, tell us again who you are, what you're doing, when we need to look out for this amazing stuff. And I've put your social link in chat so that everyone will go and follow you and find all of your things from there.
Thank you so much. I am Chris Sellers, and they, them pronouns, and I am making Defy the Gods. I'm kickstarting it on April 29th. You can sign up to be notified when it goes live at prelaunch.hecticelectron.com. Hectic Electron is my brand, my game company. And you can find Raccoon Sky Pirates on plain old hecticelectron.com. But prelaunch.hecticelectron.com is for making sure you don't miss this Kickstarter. For Defy the Gods, queer sword and sorcery, adventure, romance, and fantasy, ancient Mesopotamia.
Yes, and when is that Kickstarter happening?
April 29th.
And
very soon, 3 weeks. Yeah.
Clock's ticking. No pressure.
Yeah. Totally.
Thank you so much for coming on, for sharing stories, for being just a wonderful conversationalist.
Thank you. This is so much fun.
It's been a treat. Candace, who the heck is you, and where the heck can we find you?
Hello, I'm Candace, also known as Candace the Magnificent. You can find me at that Candace girl. No, you can't. That's wrong. Don't listen to me. At the Candace Marie on Twitter and Blue Sky. At Candace the Magnificent everywhere else. I am a TTRPG performer and voice actor. If you like video games, check out Banshee, Beansidhe. It is a new narrative walking sim by Seal B Games, friend of the channel. It is all about trans joy, Irish resistance, fighting back, and death and grief. It's beautiful. I am a voice actor in it.
All of the good
as well
cries.
as a casting director. Yes, you will cry. Bring tissues. You can also hear me in the new game Monaco 2, which was just the announcement came out the other day that apparently it is releasing in 2 days on the 10th on Steam, Nintendo Switch, and Xbox, which when they signed me up, it was only on Steam, and now it's a console game, and I'm like, well, that's terrifying. But yes, I am in that, and I'm very proud.
Your voice is going to be in so many ears.
Thank you.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm very excited. You can also hear me over on Three Black Halflings. I've been guest hosting recently. I am also on their newest AP, City of the Black Rose, Herald of Shadows. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff I'm doing this month. Please check it out. And if you are somebody who loves Star Wars and you would like to either donate your time or donate some funds, I will be doing a charity stream on May 1st. I'm going to be kicking off the event. My table is Slammin' AF. I've got Jay Justice, who is like a fantastic, like super famous cosplayer. I've got Bredo, who is like a fantastic gamer. I've got Jeremy Cobb of Free Black Halflings, and I've got Omega, aka Critical Bard. So it's gonna be awesome. I'm running Star Wars Savage Worlds. And then you can also catch me running Mothership on April 17th. All proceeds will go to the ACLU for that one. Also a charity stream over on Guild Superior.
Amazing.
Awesome.
Thank you.
I'm Kay. I'm here every Tuesday doing this, just about every Tuesday. There's going to be 2 weeks where I'm not, but you can find me, like I said, every Tuesday. We here, do this. We've got guests lined up for not this week following, and you might even see a different co-host coming up here soon because, life, and Candace has, jobs and opportunities and cool stuff to do, and we can't take all of their time because we're not that cool. But You can find me Tuesday. No, today is Tuesday. Thursday over on a Sterling Garden where I am playing. Oh, wow. This is where we are. You can find me Thursday over at Meadowlark Productions where I am playing a Sterling Garden, which is a Star Wars 5e adventure. Where, I don't know, everything's going fine for my character. It's fine. It's not
Totally
at all
okay.
a totally awkward thing. It's totally fine. I didn't just completely cut off all of my force, everything. You know, it's
You don't
cool.
need it.
Yeah, that's
It's
fine. And then Friday at 5 p.m., go find me at Entropy Emporium, where I'm playing Weird Wilds War, which is Brandon, Drake Warden Himbo Ranger, and
Perfect baby
Gilmore.
man.
Yes, the sweetest idiot that has ever sweetest idiot. Who the hell gave him a dragon? And Gilmore says hello and goodbye. And as always, thank you all so much for hanging out. This is going to take a frickin' second because y'all are too much so much. Thank you, Lurking Rider, for the resub. Thank you, Mimics and Misfits Matt, for the resub. Thank you, Matt, for the 5 gift subs. Thank you, Lurking Rider, for the 5 gift subs. Thank you, Rex, for the sub. And thank you, Alaria Stormforged, for the sub. Good gravy, y'all. We had a level 4 hype train, and you all are incredible. Thank you so much. Chris, thank you again. I cannot wait to back the Kickstarter on the 29th. Everyone, as always, if you're going to go find someone to raid, be kind to yourself, be excellent to others, and we will see you next time.
Shout out to DC, who's producing for me for Black History thing or whatever, Star Wars.
DC, yes! Bye, y'all.